Professor of African History, Peace and Conflict Studies and Pioneer Director of the Institute for Peace and Strategic Studies at the University of Ibadan, Isaac Olawale Albert, joins us now from Ibadan. Professor, thank you for joining us on the program. What do you make of the North Korean leader's eagerness to bridge relations with the South?
Well, I think we have to do context analysis here. What appears on the surface to be the eagerness of the North Korean leader, to be interested in the peace process, I think, to me, is a form of subtle diplomacy, an attempt to eat one's cake and at the same time have it. But on the surface, what we have noticed is that the man is under pressure, the possibility of insurrection from within North Korea because people are tired of him, and a high chance of possible attack from outside because there are several groups that are not happy with what is happening in North Korea. I mean, that is the message. But beyond this, I think the man is playing politics. He knows quite well that the next round of election, the midterm election in America is around the corner. And the president of America, President Trump, has presented himself as a major actor in managing the problem in North Korea. And I think he's trying to make some political statement from this to present it to Americans as one of his greatest achievements. And by playing a delay tactics, by delaying the peace process, I think the president of North Korea is trying to weaken the capacity of President Trump from within, so that Americans might not support whatever military action he might want to take against North Korea in the nearest future. Again, we have also noticed that it seems the leadership of North Korea is trying to play America against the international community, to tell the international community that he's doing his best at making it possible for the problems in that region to be resolved peacefully, but that he's having problems dealing with America. Thirdly, I think he's also trying to play the internal politics of telling his people that he's ready for peace, but that the enemies, the adversaries of North Korea from outside are unwilling to give him the needed support.
You have said before that there was more to this summit than just denuclearization. What's the hidden message here?
The leader of North Korea is trying to kill two birds with one stone, manage his own internal crisis, and at the same time, he is strategically positioning himself as a nationalist, so that when the two Koreas are united at the end of the day, he would be seen as a nationalist. The Chinese are trying to use North Korea to manage their own relationship with America. President Trump is trying to use the politics in North Korea to clean up some of the problems he's having with his own style of governance. So I think we have too many players in the system. To that extent, those reading the outer surface of the conflict might actually not get it right. You need to do context analysis to see how different actors are actually playing politics with the present situation in North Korea.
Japan, China and the United States have been closely monitoring developments. The Japanese Prime Minister Shinzo Abe says it's time to face North Korea. He's, of course, referring to the sensitive issue of Japanese abducted by North Korea. Do you think Mr. Abe would be as lucky as the South Korean President Moon Jae-in in negotiations with the North Korean leader?
Yes, the Japanese will definitely will get something out of it. But I think we have to start by saying that the problem in North Korea goes beyond relationship between North and South Korea. It goes beyond the relationship between America and North Korea. It is a conflict that has several actors. The Australians, nobody's mentioning Australia. The Australians, the Japanese, the Chinese, all of them have stakes in the crisis. Now, if we take our mind back to what happened to Gaddafi's Libya, at the end of that crisis, when Gaddafi agreed to denuclearize, several other actors in the conflict had something to take away from it. By the time the problem is solved, the interests of Japan in it will have been addressed. I foresee matters arising because if the North and South Korea they come together, they might become a power bloc in the Korean Peninsula that will challenge the Japanese more, that will challenge the Chinese, and we might be having another phase of power politics in that geopolitical region.
As leaders meet to have the 73rd debate at the UN headquarters in New York, do you think that for the first time, Professor, conversations surrounding North Korea's nuclear armament could take a different turn?
It is for some neutral members of the international community to begin to push the UN in the direction of becoming a mediator in this crisis. China is no longer able to play the role of a dependable interlocutor. This is because China has its own problems with America. And of course, President Trump came out very clearly to say that China cannot continue to play the role of a mediator, given the crisis it is having now with America. So I see the General Assembly actually pushing in the direction of, coming in between North Korea and America, most especially. I see that happening at the General Assembly. But the interest of the United Nations in the entire scenario is this issue of denuclearization. And so what would happen is probably to have the UN coming in, in the direction of strengthening the resolve of the United Nations to supervise whatever the president of North Korea is offering now, because he is saying he's ready to denuclearize openly.
President Muhammadu Buhari addresses the assembly on the first day of the debate. He also has mentioned North Korea's nuclear weaponry in a previous address at the last assembly. You think that he could draw some analogy from what's going on this year with North Korea and what Nigeria can learn from what's going on?
The way the president made his statement last year, I think will not actually work well for Nigeria. I said we have three stakeholders in that conflict. You have the secondary parties, you have the shadow parties. Australia, Japan, and several other countries are part of this process. Many of these countries are very, very careful at addressing the issue of North Korea. Now, last year, when the president delved into it, some of us felt it was probably not well advised. So this year, I think the president, if at all the president is going to say anything about it, he should talk about it in the context of our own problems. We have problems in Nigeria. We should actually encourage the international community to invest more resources in denuclearization. And then we call for for international support. Our hands are full in Nigeria.